I actually liked a lot about the Retroid Pocket 2S. This thing had really good front-facing speakers, upgraded joysticks, really nice face buttons, really good triggers, a decent screen, front-facing start and select buttons. We have some home buttons on the front, and these were really good triggers. And overall, I was really impressed with this handheld. But yeah, this was a really cool device. First things first though, if you haven't seen my review on the original Retroid Pocket 2S, I definitely recommend checking that out first. But the aim of this is to compare this Retroid Pocket 2S to the metal Retroid Pocket 2S. I just got the metal Retroid Pocket 2S in the mail, and this thing is looking really cool. Let's open this up and see if there's any differences to the original 2S, and to see if it's worth the increased costs to go with the metal variant. As of currently writing this video, the 2S goes for $149 US, which is the same price as the D900 Retroid Pocket 4. There are a few benefits to getting this, and of course you're getting that metal shell, but aside from that, you are also getting a really good aspect ratio for retro gaming. This one comes with 1 extra gig of RAM, bringing it up to 4 compared to the base version of the 2S. Aside from that though, the specs remain identical. Let's take a closer look at the metal 2S. As always, these Retroid units come in these nice boxes. We have a card showing us a little bit more about the handheld. This shows us all the different specifications and a little overlay of the handheld. And under that, we have the handheld itself. Let's pull it out and take a closer look at it. There's nothing else in the box except for a USB cable. And I gotta admit, this feels extremely premium. The gunmetal looks so much better in person than I imagined it would. This also feels very high quality. Because it is slightly textured, it does resist fingerprints pretty decently. The entire shell is made out of metal, but there is a slight piece of plastic that goes between the bumper and the trigger. The SD card reader slot cover and this piece here are made out of plastic. This piece is the part that is covering the Wi-Fi antenna. So this had to be made out of plastic so we could get a good Wi-Fi connection still. If this was completely made out of metal, it would block the signal. Since this is completely identical to the original, I wanted to open this up and see what it looks like on the inside. Let's pop the back plate off and take a closer look. I've also noticed that they've swapped the screws on this model to Phillips. This is kind of odd, but I have one screw in the corner that won't come out, and as I turn it, it almost looks like it's been put in at an angle, so unfortunately I can't get my back plate off. This seems to only be affected with my unit, as I've seen many other YouTubers pull a back plate off theirs. However, looking at the front, let's take a closer look at the device. We still have those rubber membrane face buttons and Hall effect joysticks. The 2 cutouts for the front-facing speakers look really good. The USB-C is up on the top, along with the HDMI out. The metal appears to be very soft to the touch. But yeah, overall, I do think that the look is amazing. I would choose this gunmetal look over the other model that I have any day of the week. There are some pads on the back that connect the hot parts of the device to the back plate. This should help the device distribute the heat over the entire unit. Let's go through the setup quick. I'm getting up to 400 megabytes per second on my 5 GHz Wi-Fi. For all Android devices, I don't recommend disabling your Google Play services, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that checked. I don't generally install anything in these pre-installed apps, but there is one that I do usually go ahead and do, and that's the RetroArch 64, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. These are also going to ask you which launcher you want to use. I generally just use the AOSP launcher, which is like a default Android launcher. I'll likely use Beacon launcher on this device, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. A lot of people might be worried about temperatures on this, but even with a benchmark running, the temperatures on the back are in their 30s. This is at most around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is still extremely comfortable to use. Even using a test specifically designed to make devices throttle, this isn't going over 60 degrees Celsius. The controls still feel quite cool to the touch, but let's take a close look at the temperatures itself. On the right side, we're looking at around 32 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit. This holds true for the other side, not going over 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius. On the back, we're looking at around 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is about the max temperature that I can get this unit to go up to. All in all, the temperatures on this are very impressive. When holding this in your hands, it does feel a little bit warm, but I wouldn't say it's hot by any means. 32 degrees Celsius is still very comfortable to game with. I've been using this for a few days now, and I gotta admit, this has been really great. The systems that I play most on this are Dreamcast and Game Boy Advance, along with Sega Genesis, and all of them have been amazing on this screen. Specifically with Sega Dreamcast, this is a perfect fit on this panel. And with the contrast set to its default setting, it still looks absolutely vibrant. I still really like this panel, and I think this is a really cool device because of it. One thing Retroid does is always include nice screens on their devices. I've never been disappointed with any screen on any Retroid device. One of the downsides to using a metal shell though is you're gonna find that sometimes if it's humid, your hands are gonna get a little clammy on the back. It's a little humid today, but you can see that it still kind of resists fingerprints pretty decently. I think this is also because it's a lighter color, so this is pretty nice. But this metal really feels premium, and I think Retroid did an amazing job with the design of this handheld. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why not just get the plastic variant, and the plastic variant is really nice. The build quality is very solid. Out of all the Retroid devices that I own, I think this one has the best speakers on it. If you watch my recent review of the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, you're definitely going to notice a speaker quality improvement going from the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro to this model here. I think that's largely in part to the speakers they use, but this is also front-facing speakers. While the D900 is going to offer better performance than the chip found in the Retroid Pocket 2S, I do think that both of these devices have their own pros and cons. Between both of these, I do think that the speakers are better on this as mentioned, and I also find this more comfortable to hold. Both of these models have an add-on grip. However, if you don't want to grab the grip, I think because this has some extra height to it, it does actually feel more comfortable to use. This also feels a lot better in your hands being a metal shell. In general, I kind of find my hands sitting like this, and if I'm using the joysticks in a game like Dreamcast, I'll slide my hands down a little bit. And this is actually still very comfortable. Whereas on the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro, I do find that my hands are spaced out a little further because this is a shorter device in general. I do find my hands kind of squish up like this, and that's not as comfortable. In general, I play a lot of Dreamcast, and I play a lot of games that use joysticks. If you're using this for more retro-based games, this is perfectly fine with the D-pad on the top. But if you do plan on getting either of these devices, I do think that the stock experience on the Retroid Pocket 2S metal is going to be a better experience just as is. Because you're getting that extra height, you don't have to bunch your hands up to use the joysticks. This has been a pretty cool device overall, and I'm really impressed with it. I think for me personally, the best system on here is definitely Dreamcast. The incredible build quality and the good speakers, along with the nice buttons and everything else, just makes this a really cool package. As it currently sits, I think this, along with my Analog Pocket, are my two favorite systems for playing retro-centered games. If I wanted to move up to more modern systems, I would look at something like the Odin. If you're looking for Dreamcast and under, I think this is a great system overall. All the controls work really well, and I don't see any ghosting on the panel. Everything feels super responsive, so Dreamcast and under, this is my go-to. If I'm looking for Dreamcast and up, I do think these other handhelds are a better experience. It's kind of a shame we don't see metal devices from Nintendo. I think they could definitely learn a thing or two from Retroid. As for me personally, I think this device has a lot of value, even the metal variant. This deals with temperatures better than the plastic one. It's been great for Sega Dreamcast so far. Sega Genesis looks amazing on here. I don't think this can beat the experience playing Game Boy and Game Boy Color games like it can on the Analog Pocket, so I'll probably play those on there, but this one does look great for Game Boy Advance as well. Had I known how good the build quality was, I probably would have waited. Instead of getting the Retroid Pocket 2S plastic, I probably would have just spent the extra and got this. But it's been a long time since I've had a metal device, so I didn't really know what to expect. I find this a really pocketable device, and out of all the Retroid devices that I own, this one definitely fits nice in your pocket, but you do feel that added weight. This is obviously heavier than the plastic one, but I don't think that added weight is a problem in any means. What do you guys think about the Retroid Pocket 2S Metal Edition? I've been really impressed with it so far, and I can't recommend it enough. If the 2S Plastic Edition was pretty tempting, but you were looking for something a little bit more premium, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the 2S Metal Edition. The entire design of this device looks immaculate in this metal, and it feels very comfortable to hold. It also helps with temperatures quite a bit. If you're looking to use your joysticks on this device more than the D-pad, the added height of the device itself definitely helps with the ergonomics. The Wi-Fi has been consistent, and I haven't noticed any issues with cutting out. I think the only thing that I've been disappointed about so far is that I just can't get that screw out. I could remove the back plate if I drilled the end of the screw off. This is definitely not a widespread issue, and it's just a problem with my unit. I know Retroid would swap this out for me, no problems at all. And if you had that, I'm sure they would take care of you as well. This gunmetal gray looks amazing in person, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I really hope Retroid decides to make more metal devices down the road, because the ones that they've been coming out with have been pretty cool. I never got to try the 3 Plus Metal Edition, but if it's anything like this one, I think I'd be pretty impressed. I wasn't really a fan of the two-tone, but the solid gunmetal looks amazing. Now we just gotta wait and hope that they come out with a ruby red metal shell for the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. That would be absolutely incredible, and it would match the Game Boy SP. In this hobby, we're really spoiled for choice. We have so many different devices that we can choose, and so many different form factors, even from the same company. Retroid has been doing a really good job at making quite a variety of handhelds, and I'm really excited to see what they come out with down the road. Personally, I'm really hoping that Retroid comes out with something like the Analog Pocket. I was actually thinking to myself, well, this feels kind of similar to the Analog Pocket, and I couldn't figure out why, and that's because it's nearly identical in size. I find this a perfect size for a vertical handheld. This is also a really good balance for a horizontal device. If you have any questions about the Retroid Pocket 2S Metal Edition, make sure to let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and as always, thanks for watching.